And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, President Trump backstabbing his own vice president. Today, when asked about Pence's offer of a deal to Congress to end the shutdown in exchange for $2.5 billion for the wall, Pence had gone to Capitol Hill to sell this plan to everybody. Trump's asked about it and says this.
Would you accept anything less than $2.5 billion?
No, not 2.5. No, we're asking for 5.6. And, somebody said 2.5. No, look, this is national security we're talking about.
Somebody was Vice President Mike Pence, who went on the president's behalf to say that amount, which the president now says, no way. Let's be clear. Every lawmaker Pence pitched that plan to now knows the vice president can't deliver. Trump wants to own this, and own it he does. Today, he called Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to the White House for a closed-door conversation. Their take?
I said, Mr. President, give me one good reason why you should continue your shutdown of the 8 cabinet departments while we are debating our differences on Homeland Security. He could not give a good answer.
At an impasse. And the 12 days into the shutdown, no sense of urgency coming from the president.
How long do you think the government's going to stay partially shut down?
Could be a long time, and it could be quickly. Could be a long time. It's too important a subject to walk away from.
Too important for him. The president is obsessed, tweeting about the wall 22 times since Friday. Just think about that for 1 second. 22 times since Friday. Take this one from today. Quote, Mexico is paying for the wall through the new USMCA trade deal. That's the replacement to NAFTA. Much of the wall has already been fully renovated or built. Let me break this down. 1, Mexico is not paying for the wall because the trade deal has not been approved by Congress. And even if it is, Mexico is still not paying for the wall because the money saved from that deal, if there is any saved, is supposed to go to you, the American taxpayer, not towards a wall. If Trump uses that money, right, because it's kind of hard to call it that, but if it's money to pay for the wall, he is taking it from you. You are paying for it, not Mexico, okay? And 2, back to the tweet. The president actually tweeted again, let me read it, quote, much of the wall has already been fully renovated or built. Now, this is true. There actually already is a barrier. According to Customs and Border Protection, it runs 702 miles long. The president himself only wants 1,000 miles of wall along the 2,000-mile-long border. So it seems absurd that we're even in this position to begin with. Jessica Dean is out front live at the White House. And Jessica, when you put all this together, 22 tweets since Friday, undermining, backstabbing his own vice president, does the president actually have a strategy here?
Well, Erin, we're hearing a lot from him, from the tweets, from the different, meetings that they had today, that cabinet meeting where we were hearing him talk. It does seem like it's kind of in different places. What is for sure is that he has drawn this line on the border wall and the $5.6 billion that he wants for it. And just recently, a White House official telling our Caitlin Collins this shutdown is going to go on for a while. So what did we see here at the White House this afternoon? We saw congressional leadership coming in for a meeting. They were invited here by President Trump to the White House. But instead of meeting in the Oval Office like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer did back in December, they were all in the Situation Room for what was being billed as a border security briefing. The Department of Homeland Secretary Nielsen was briefing them. She had a 1-hour presentation, we're told, that was prepared. But Schumer and Pelosi kept asking about the shutdown. They wanted to talk more about reopening the government. We got some more information, some more reporting with someone who was familiar with the situation telling CNN that Schumer kept asking President Trump, look, as Democrats tomorrow, the Democrats are going to take over the House. They're going to vote on a package of bills designed to reopen the government. We're going to take Department of Homeland Security out. We're going to continue it. We're going to allow for 30 days so we can continue to negotiate specifically on that and then reopen the rest of the government. And this source saying that that Schumer asked President Trump 3 times why he wasn't going to accept that. And on the 3rd time, that's when he said, because I would look foolish, according to this source, if I did that. So what is for sure is when everybody came out of this about 1-hour long briefing, they were no more closer on reopening the government than when they went in. Erin.
All right, thank you very much, Jessica. So I want to go out front now to Democratic Congressman David Cicilline, part of leadership, obviously incoming here, as you have all the swearings in tomorrow and formally take over. Nancy Pelosi says she's going to bring that legislation to the floor tomorrow, which Jessica referenced, and basically it kicks this whole wall issue and the border off for a month. Do you believe, have any reason to believe at this point, that President Trump will accept that deal, change his mind, and take it?
Well, no, but I mean, we should remember, Aaron, this is a proposal that was already passed by the Senate unanimously, 100-0. So what we're going to do tomorrow is bring to the floor two bills, one which will fund the 6 other departments. Bipartisan agreement has already been achieved with respect to those departments. Separate out the point of contention, that's the Department of Homeland Security, do a shorter stopgap for that. So fund the rest of the government through the end of the fiscal year, those 6 departments, then take the Department of Homeland Security, give it a shorter time frame to give us an opportunity to negotiate these outstanding issues. But the president isn't serious about wanting to reopen the government. He said he wanted to shut it down. He said that 25 times. I think, frankly, he doesn't really have an interest in reopening the government because he's using it as an opportunity to really distract from a lot of very serious issues facing his White House and this administration. There's an easy solution here. We're going to present it tomorrow like adults. We're going to fund the government, send it over to the Senate. I think they're going to be hard-pressed not to pass it. They already passed it.
Right. I mean, was it 96?
Right.
Okay. But if he's not going to go along with it, is this just a futile waste of time?
Well, I don't think it's a futile waste of time because I do think that the American people need to see the Democrats doing the right thing, swiftly moving to reopen the government. Then they're going to have to put pressure on the Republicans in the Senate to do their job. They don't work for the President of the United States. They work for the American people. They should be serving their constituents, not the President. They've already passed this proposal before Christmas. They ought to do it again to reopen the government. Then we can have a real debate about what is the smartest way to secure our borders. Democrats believe we should have secure borders, but we should do it in a smart way. Invest in technology, drones, cargo inspections, satellites, more personnel. Let's do it in a way that actually achieves the objective, not just some 19th century solution for a 21st century problem, this big concrete wall that supposedly Mexico was going to pay for.
Well, and it's concrete some days there's a fence, some days there's a border slots, whatever it is. Okay, but let me ask you this, because, we've reported the vice president, right? Pence went to Capitol Hill with a $2.5 billion proposal, right? Saying, okay, well, we don't need this 5.6 or whatever. We'll go for 2.5, and here's how it could work. And the president was asked about it today, and here's what he said. Let me play it again.
No, not 2.5. No, we're asking for 5.6. And, somebody said 2.5. No, look, this is national security we're talking about.
Okay, so Pence goes to Capitol Hill with a whole plan and tries to sell it, and the president's like, I don't know who thought of that. I have nothing to do with it. I mean, is he throwing the vice president under the bus, backstabbing him? What's going on?
Well, I think this is one of the difficulties in trying to negotiate the resolution of a matter with someone who doesn't always tell the truth and someone who doesn't keep his word. I mean, if you remember, the president approved the prior deal. That's why the Senate voted for it, unanimously, because he had agreed to this idea of funding the 6 departments and doing a short-term CR for the Department of Homeland Security so we could work out these issues. Then he changed his mind after the Senate voted. So I think, again, there's a lot of trepidation about negotiating with someone whose word you can't trust, who seems to change his position with some frequency. I think if we do reach a deal, we're going to have to find some way to have the president commit to it so that he actually keeps his word. But I think it's what makes a very difficult negotiation even more difficult. You just don't have a sense where the president really is and whether he's going to actually stick with the position he takes.
All right, so you've got people impacted by this, citizens who deal with the government, right? Rely on the government, deal with the government. You have 800,000 federal workers who are directly impacted, right? Not getting paychecks right now. And even if they, when they get back pay, right, they've got bills to pay and debts to service that they can't do while they're not getting paid. It's coming as the president is surrounded by an incomplete team, as you know, right? 7 of the 21 top jobs, all right, which is incredible. A third of them are now filled by acting or deputies. Acting or deputy, including Chief of Staff, the Attorney General of the United States of America, the Defense Secretary of the United States of America, right? Single biggest budget item in this country. How long can a government continue functioning like this?
I think it's a very serious question. I think the president is having considerable difficulty keeping people in his cabinet for a lot of obvious reasons. People are leaving in droves. I think he's found it difficult to keep people. I think he's a particularly difficult person to work for all the things we've seen. So I think it's challenging. These are difficult and challenging times, but to do it without a proper staff of qualified people makes all this work more difficult. And I think the president has sort of, particularly with the departure of Secretary Mattis, sort of the only adults in the room have left. And so I think it's a real challenge. And the president's surrounded by folks who are just sort of cheering him on.